Okay, welcome to Power Pivots, the podcast where we explore the stories behind the fundamental career shifts and changes that have made all the difference. I'm your host. I go by Hatu, and today we are joined by
Lesley Gwam.
Lesley Gwam, LG. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Very excited to talk to you. Very excited to talk to you. So I always like to start the show by asking people about their PowerPoints. PowerPoints are 3 different words or phrases that basically encapsulate who you are. So for you, Lesley, what would you say that your PowerPoints are?
My determination.
Okay.
My ability to be a good listener. So I guess listening skills.
Okay.
And my discipline.
Okay. All right. You care to tell us a little bit more about why you chose those?
Well, determination is why you even asked me to be here today. We'll get going in a minute, but if I were a determined person, I wouldn't be here. So we'll elaborate on that later. Good listener. I feel like that's kind of self-explanatory, but I hear that people a lot too when I'm speaking. Like, oh wow, like you're a good listener. And I think it's because, not to, turn into a therapy session, but I feel like there have been many times in my life where I felt like no one was listening to me. So I make it a point to let people know that I am listening to them. And disciplines really related to determination, but you know me. You know that, like, before anything else, I'm gonna go to bed at 8:30 if I need to, so I can hit the 6:30 a.m. spin class. And I've been that way for a long time. Even in business school, business school is like one big party, and I was known for like, oh, it starts at 9:00. Lesley's not coming, and this is when I was a full-time student. So it's just been a tenet of my personality for a while. But I think that's what
you were that person.
Okay. Oh, I was, but I was also older in business school, which we will get to in a minute. So I'm like, y'all are still like in your 20s, like trying to rage all the time. I'm 30. I can't.
Okay, those are good ones. Those are good ones. I believe those. I think those are fairly accurate.
What you mean fairly?
So, no, they're good. They're good. They definitely encapsulate you. For sure. I mean, it's hard to use it in 3 words, to do it in 3 words, but I think you did a good job.
You said words or phrases.
Yeah, exactly. You did a great job. But they always say that the story is told in hindsight, and hindsight is 2020. So I know you said we'll talk about it later, but let's get into it a little bit now. Tell us a little bit more about your story.
Okay. So I am from the Midwest, went to state school in Midwest, studied journalism as well as African American studies. After that, I wanted to go into journalism or PR, but as you know, I am a child of immigrants. And immigrant parents, especially Nigerian parents, are like doctor, lawyer, engineer, accountant. Those are your options. That is it. Right, exactly. Anything else is a failure, and we aren't letting that happen. And I'm the oldest girl in my family too. So failure is not an option, whatever that means. And so I ended up going to law school in Chicago. After law school, took the bar, passed the bar, the Illinois bar, and was practicing first divorce law for a little under a year, which I actually enjoyed, but I couldn't live off of that salary. Not saying the divorce law doesn't pay at all, but the firm I was working for, which I think is why I enjoyed it, couldn't afford to pay me what I needed to. So I made the move over to insurance litigation, healthcare insurance litigation on the plaintiff side, which paid better, not amazing, but better. But I did not enjoy it at all. At all. And I've always wanted to work in entertainment. Like growing up, music and music storytelling was always my passion. And after doing all the stuff I didn't enjoy for so long, I was like, this is actually eating at me. And I'm alive, but I'm not really living, I'm just here doing what I'm supposed to do. I was like, I'm just existing here. I'm not really living, I'm existing, and it's eating at me. And then after a very dramatic breakup, I decided to think about what are my passions and what can I really do here that'll make me just enjoy myself more. And I actually started working at an independent record label in Chicago, small company, and I was helping them with their artist partnerships and sponsorships. So helping them get sponsors for tours and music videos and things like that.
Was this a breakup from a personal breakup or a work breakup?
Have you ever heard the term work breakup?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to find out. You're a lawyer. Y'all operate a little differently. You get a little tea. It was a personal breakup. Okay. All right. Okay. Now we're getting down to it. Okay.
Yep,
So
because I
the
was like,
personal breakup caused you to reassess what you really wanted from passion
yeah,
level at work.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. I'm like, what
Okay.
can I throw myself into that's going to benefit me? And so I found the record label, but then I also started volunteering with Chicago Independent Radio.
Okay.
And in order to be on air as a DJ, you had to spend a certain amount of time working in podcasting. And I started doing that and fell in love. I'm like, I don't really need to be on air as such. I can stay here. And as part of that adventure, I was helping to produce, and I was part of a rotating panel of co hosts on this show where we interviewed music artists as they came through Chicago, as well as artists who were local to
Oh,
Chicago. I
okay.
absolutely love that experience. And between the two of those experiences, the record label and the radio station, I was like, I need to move. Like, I want to be in this industry doing something similar, but I live in Chicago. And while
Yeah.
Chicago does have an entertainment industry, it's not really one that you can like live off of. So
Right.
I'm like, I have to move to New York or LA.
Okay.
I applied to a bunch of jobs, heard nothing back, had some informationals here and there, like over the phone, but they all kind of ended in, you got to come out here. Because I am a calculated risk taker,
Hmm.
I decided to apply to graduate school again because I'm like,
Oh,
if I go back to school, I will have not only new skills, but also a brand new network. I heard about the consortium through a friend of a friend.
hmm.
And through the consortium, I was able to get the full scholarship to UCLA Anderson.
Big
So then I
bank.
became, yes, shout out to consortium. That's how we know each other.
That's how we know each
Um,
other.
Yes. And so I began there in 2018 and just really used that time to network. So like as
Okay.
soon as I got to LA, I was just on, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this more, but like I was on the internet setting up information with everybody I could find. So I was like constantly at these record labels, at
Hmm.
agencies, like anybody who would talk to me. I was talking to them. I think I tried to keep track. I was like, I stopped keeping track after
Wow.
80 informationals.
So
And
business school was a backup plan for you to be able to just get out here and have something to fall back on so you can continue to network.
yes,
Wow. Okay.
'cause I'm like, even
Very
if I don't, I
interesting.
mean, like, I was very focused. Very, I mean, back to that determination. Like, I was very focused. Like, I was like, I'm here to do this one thing. But in the event that like I'm not able to pivot into entertainment, I can still pivot into like brand management or something because that was actually my focus in business
Hmm.
school. Yeah. So when I was at business school, I interned at Universal Music Group twice. The first time was at Fame House, which was like
Okay.
an internal like merchandising company. And then I was in business development there. And then I also interned in business and legal affairs for Universal Latin Entertainment. That solidified that I don't want to do law like at all. I was like, I'm interning in the legal department at the biggest record label in the world, and I don't want to do this. So
Hmm.
that was that
So,
for me.
so do you think that you got those internships because you are a lawyer? They saw that and they're like, okay, cool. Like, let's put you in the legal department.
For that role, yeah,
Okay.
because they're like
Got it.
she has a law degree already, and then she's building the business acumen because she's
Mhm.
currently in business school. So it
Okay.
made it all the sense. And I feel like maybe it also just wasn't the right like environment for me. Like I'm not saying like I would never do a business affairs role ever. I feel like that one was way more transactional,
Okay.
paperwork based versus like negotiations. So for that, I knew that wasn't for me. But that's why you do internships to learn what is for you
Mhm.
and what isn't. So I did those two. And then my last internship before graduating was at Endeavor Content. It's now called Fifth Season, but I was a content strategy intern for their podcast division. And that was a very pivotal internship for me. Two reasons. One, the way I got it.
Mhm.
Back to the power of networking. So
Yeah.
when I was interviewing for summer internships, I interviewed at Fifth Season for a business development intern role. And I wasn't selected for that. But I had a really good conversation with the recruiter and one of the managers on that team. Fast forward, I don't know, maybe like 6 months, they want to do a podcast project. And the recruiter tells the president, who was the one who requested the project, like, I know somebody who's great for it, but she's external, but she's great. Can we bring her in? And that's because when I was just talking to him before my interview, I mentioned how much I enjoy podcasting, and he remembered that.
Okay. And
So,
you'd
like,
had
yeah.
so much podcast experience from before.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
also didn't mention that when I was in business school, I was doing my own podcast as well, my own hip hop
Hmm.
podcast every week. So,
Okay.
Yeah, so he remembered all of that and brought me back in, did that internship, which was basically breaking down the podcast industry for the company's president because he knew what it was, but like didn't have a lot of insights. So just info gathering for him, as
Right.
well as recommendations based on the information that I found about the different genres and the availability of talent, et cetera, et cetera. So that was amazing. It wrapped in February of 2020.
Oh wow. Yep. The greatest time.
Yep,
The greatest time for everything.
exactly. And then March came and they're like, you want a job? Jobs where?
What is that?
Exactly.
What is that?
So I did that until, like I mentioned, until February. And then, like, I was in school the whole time. We all went virtual, graduated in June of 2020. I was
Mhm.
like, I'll get a job when it comes. Of course, naturally, I'm panicking at first. But after a while, it's like, it's all going to shit. Will be.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
landed my full-time job at a streamer in October of
Okay.
2020. I've been there ever since. I'm currently working in show development and production. So basically, I'm helping our studio decide which shows we greenlight and move forward with by like going through the decks and like holding the pitch meetings. And then once we decide the shows to greenlight, I help work cross-functionally with like our marketing, PR teams, etc., to help the shows have a great launch.
Very nice. Very nice. So this is cool because in a lot of these instances, when I speak to folks, these pivots are never straight paths, right? But it sounds like you used a lot of your previous experience or leveraged a lot of your previous experience to get to the next step and then eventually kind of like figure out how to go from there, in particular internships. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Has Power Pivots inspired you to reevaluate your career path? If so, look into Power Pivots career coaching. Whether you're interested in career discovery, job description dissection, or interview prep, I take a tailored approach to helping you understand your ultimate career goals and get closer to them. Interested? Fill out the interest form at the bottom of the show notes for your free 30-minute consultation. For any questions, email hatu@powerpivots.co. That's HATU at powerpivots.co. As always, pivot powerfully. What would you say are, in your opinion, the most critical resources that you used to be able to get there? Obviously, you spoke about the network being critical, whether it was folks from like school or from like internship interviews that you'd had, keeping in contact with recruiters, but from like a organization or degree or course standpoint, what would you say are some of the more critical resources that you use?
Okay, I'll just bunch like network into like one big thing because that's
Okay.
your alumni network, but that's also
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn and the cold
Mm-hmm.
reach outs. So yeah, that was one. And then two slash 1A, I guess, because your clubs are very important. Like for me, I joined the Entertainment Association at school.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in that, they had recruiters and employees from different companies come speak to us. So I actually connected with one of the recruiters from Universal Music Group through that club. And that's how I landed that first internship there. So use your club's resources. And then lastly, I would say keeping up for entertainment, at least keeping up with the trades was very important because when you get to these informationals, like you're going to need things to talk about, right? And you can ask people about the career journeys, which is what I always did. But you also want to ask them, their thoughts on whatever is going on in the news, in the industry, or at their particular company.
Okay.
Right? Like when I was in school, the Disney Fox deal happened. So anytime I spoke to somebody from one of those companies, I asked them like, how are you feeling about this? Or like, how has that impacted your team? I mean, because one, I did find it interesting, but then two, to let them know, like, I'm not here to waste your time either. Like, I really genuinely care about your thoughts.
Right, right. And what are some resources that you used to keep up on what was going on in the industry?
I mean, I
Like,
read Variety, Deadline, Hollywood Reporter for podcasting. I read Pod News.
okay, that's very helpful. And from your standpoint, how critical in your journey would you say being a lawyer was and or is, and having an MBA was and or is?
That's a tough question because I don't necessarily use the degrees themselves in my role now. The background is helpful, right? Like people are impressed when I say things like SWOT analysis, which is truly not a big deal. But if you didn't go to grad school, you don't know what
Right.
it is.
Right. Google it.
Right, exactly. And then like even from law, like when you work in these big companies, it's just relationship management, which is kind of like client counseling, honestly.
Right.
So like skills that I picked up, but I can't say it's like, the JD was really crucial or like the MBA was really crucial. I think the JD was slightly more crucial just because I am terrible at standardized tests. The GMAT broke me it broke me. I was like,
Me
forget
too.
this. If I need the GMAT to be a consultant, then I don't need to be a consultant. Like, forget it. So
Y'all
I
got
switched
it.
over. Right, exactly. Y'all won. To
Yep.
quote Offset, y'all won. Um, and so I ended up taking the GRE, did better on that, but still like not at the UCLA average. But I think the fact that I already had a professional degree and certification made them realize like, oh, she can do school. She may struggle with these,
Yeah.
but she can do school. And I'm not sure that like without that, that would have proven anything because like I had great grades, but like everybody has good grades who applies to UCLA, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that helped me to get into business school, which has changed the trajectory of my life. But
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, the degree itself, I'm not actually like using the degree. Like I'm not like looking at contracts all the time or like litigating things anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, especially the business degree. It's interesting the way that you've kind of used them as like fallback plans, right? Of
Mhm.
like, hey, listen, I know what I want to do. I know where my passions are, but just in case things go left, I have this that I can utilize, right? So, in that same vein, I guess, why are you so passionate about entertainment and, in particular, audio, music, and podcasting? Like, why are those such big passions of yours?
Well, I don't like sitting still for long periods of time, so I
Mm,
never got really into movies like that. I like
okay.
TV shows here and there, but that kind of like ruined movies for me. But I've always really been into music. I mean, that's what kind of united my family way. Like my dad was very into music, and then
Mhm.
that I've often found that that's the way that I connected with people. Like if we have nothing else in common, I typically know a song that you like or an artist, and we can start a conversation from based on that. And I love audio because it's another method of storytelling that I can listen to as I'm cleaning my house or going on a
Yeah.
run, and also I have a journalism background. So it's like I really find it interesting that audio gave a platform to people who weren't traditional journalists, but were really still had that inquisitive nature that I find really interesting. The first podcast that I listened to consistently was Combat Jack, rest in
Okay.
peace.
Hmm.
He was an attorney turned podcaster, and I learned so much in a fun way. And that also
Right.
led me to listen to A Waste of Time with It's the Real. And those guys,
Hmm.
like, they're not writers, but the way that they would research artists and ask these really like unique questions, I found fascinating. So that was my first
Yeah.
like and then I started to listen to more like comedy podcasts, and I was like, oh, it's like having a community, people that you don't
Mm.
know, right?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
parasocial relationships, which I
Yeah.
just find all of those absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. It's really cool because whenever I speak to people about like entertainment, like you think of it as something that's just there for one person to consume. But I'm starting to find out more now that the reason that people gravitated towards it so much is because it actually ends up building community, whether it
Yep.
is something that gives you some commonality with someone else, or whether it's the community that's built around or centered around like that particular form of entertainment. Folks are thinking of it more from that standpoint. And for you, I know that you said that you work at a streamer. Is that something that you guys think about internally, right? Building community based on the content that you guys are producing.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the questions we think about when we're evaluating like potential talent. Either like, do they have a following that we think they would bring with them to the platform? Or if not, do we think that we can build one based on the topics that they cover and their proximity to other people with like larger platforms? So
Mhm.
absolutely.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, from the standpoint of pre pivot and post pivot, what is some advice that you would give yourself looking back?
Hmm. They're not going to revoke your scholarship. So please do not cry in the bathroom over your finance
Oh my.
final. Like pull it together because that
Okay.
happened.
Okay. In the broader sense, keep it in perspective.
Yes, there you go.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And then like don't forget to network across because it's something like I'm doing a better job of now, and I feel like I did it. I mean, when you're in business school, you're just obviously like networking with your classmates because you're around them all the time.
Mhm.
But I kind of wish I would have taken more time to like meet students from like USC and Loyola Marymount and like been more in like the cross community events because you're all gonna rise together, right? Like
Mhm.
everybody, like, the next CEO of whatever large company is in our cohort. So we
Mhm.
also know each other now, which I'm
Yeah.
trying to, like I said, I'm trying to do more of now. But back then, it would have been helpful to
Yeah.
know. Yeah, those are the main things.
Yeah. There you go. Take advantage of that network. I mean, like you said, the degree aspect of it, like no one really cares about the SWOT analysis, like unless you're particularly working on that. But
Right.
utilizing those networks just overall, even if you didn't go to school, right? Making sure that the
Mhm.
network is something that you're paying attention to and just continuously meeting people. And that ends up just paying dividends in the future, right?
Yep.
So, what would you say in the space of audio or podcasting in particular that you're particularly like excited about?
I'm really excited about the new formats that are coming. Like, as much as I love a traditional chat show or interview
Hmm.
show, you can only do so many of those. So I'm really interested in like these different format breakers. Like, I've seen dating shows that are
Hmm.
podcasts. I've
Oh, wow.
seen sitcom podcasts, and I find like all that stuff like really fascinating. Because people are so creative, just need a chance.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's cool. I mean, I think that it's like people see like, okay, this is one form of media. And it's like, oh, let's see what we can do with it. Right. Or
Hmm.
again, there's a little something for everybody. It's so funny. Like a few years ago, I talked to people and they're like, I'm not really a big podcast person. Right.
Hmm.
But now it's like almost inevitable that you have to listen to podcasts in some form or fashion because there's
Hmm.
always a little something for everybody, whether you gather news from it, whether you use it for self-motivation, whether you're entertained by it. There's just so many different forms that could really benefit whatever you're looking for.
Exactly. Like, everybody thought like podcasting was like the same as like NPR. Like, they're one and the
Mhm,
same. And I'm like, they
mhm,
had the OG podcasts, but there are
mhm.
so many more forms than,
Yeah,
Up First, which I love, by the way.
I love it, which I love. I'm a daily listener. But yeah,
Same.
you're 100% right. And thank you all for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe for more. And most important, pivot powerfully. Be well, everyone.